call me a god. You call me a god. You call me a god.
Welcome back to the channel, you guys. Welcome back to the boat gang. We got the Proboat Jetstream on the block. Okay, today we're going to be modifying the boat. My first mod or upgrade to this boat is going to be power, tilt, and trim on our thrust nozzle. Okay, this is a modification I've always wanted to do to an RC boat. I've had a lot of requests over the years to modify a prop driven boat, like on the go trim, whether it's trim tabs or our stinger or strut. In this case it's the nozzle. So stick around, you guys. Big B with Ironclad RC. I know. I told you guys my first upgrade would be the Firma 120, which we're going to do this. We're going to do this upgrade here shortly. It's a direct bolt-in. We're also going to put some red cooling line in, okay? Upgrade the cooling line just so it looks better. That's, you know, that cooling line, the boat's cool. It don't even need an upgraded cooling line. But just for looks, we're going to do these two. I haven't done a speed test with the boat yet, so I wanted to get a stock speed test down with the stock ESC before we upgrade it, so we can kind of get a speed comparison. So that's why I'm not doing the 120 right now. Okay, once we put the 120 in, we're actually going to be running the boat on 3, 4, and 6S. I just got these new SMC 5500 milliamp 3S packs in, 120C. These 3S batteries are the same size as a hard case 2S pack. Exact same size. It's like they used the same hard case to put a 3S battery in, so it's going to be a perfect option to run this boat on 6S. Okay, so we're going to be doing that along with this here shortly. Okay, so let's get to the power, tilt, and trim. Now you're going to need a 5-channel receiver, whether it's a Spectrum receiver. I'm going to be using the Dx5 rugged. It's what I have. Any 5-6 channel receiver will work. If you're going to be adding lights later on, you probably need a 6-channel. Okay, if you're going to basically run the boat in its stock form and just add the micro servo for power, tilt, and trim, a 5-channel will work. I'm using the SR515. So yeah, Metal Gear Servo for our power, tilt, and trim. All right, make sure it's Metal Gear. I'm sure if you're going to be bashing the boat, okay, you land on the boat, you know, aft, and it probably puts a lot of strain on this nozzle. So make sure you're going to use a Metal Gear micro servo. I wouldn't really recommend a full-size servo, only because they're heavier, and we want to try to keep the transom of this boat, the aft of this boat, light so that our CG is right. Okay, they designed it with these snap-in battery trays with CG in mind, you know, so we want to try to keep it as light as we can back here, just saying. So the boat actually comes with an SLR 300 receiver, and they have every channel taken up on this receiver. You guys see that? There's 4 plugs in this 3-channel receiver. Okay, so we're gonna one by one take these JSTs out, switch them over to our 515. Kind of out of its receiver box, you basically just pop these 2 clips and it pops right off. Pretty easy. Okay, we're basically gonna switch our wires into our receiver like one by one, you know. And we're going to basically trace out each wire as we go. And I'm going to explain to you, at least try to explain to you what I think each wire goes to. Okay, so as you can see, this wire here has the signal wire tapped off. That's going to the on-off switch to power the lights on the boat. Okay, I got you guys zoomed in. Hopefully I'm not zooming you in too much here, but I wanted you guys to see what I'm doing. So negative is on this side of our receiver. I'm going to put this in my auxiliary battery channel that goes to the on-off switch. All right, our next wire on the receiver is our steering wire. Okay, that goes into the steering port, goes to our steering servo here. That's going to go on our SR515. We're going to put it in the very top channel. I guess that's channel 1, very top channel here. Okay, steering servo. The next one on the stock receiver is our throttle. That's the orange and black wire. That goes to our ESC. Okay, so I'm going to take that wire out, put it on the throttle channel on my new receiver. Now we have the auxiliary channel. That is to our reverse bucket servo. Okay, so we're going to put this, I'm going to put it on auxiliary channel 2. And our new power tilt and trim servo is going to be on auxiliary 1 on my boat. I plug that one in backwards. Make sure you plug them in the right way. If you plug them in the wrong way, that channel, it just won't work. Okay, so that's going to go in auxiliary channel 1. Receiver binded to my transmitter. Okay, I've actually went through here and I've got my first auxiliary channel programmed in. I'll show you how to do it. So this is on auxiliary 1 on my receiver. Okay, so I'm going to go to auxiliary assign. I apologize, the face of my Dx5 rugged is scratched up. I try to take care of it, but you guys know how it is. So auxiliary assign, channel auxiliary 1. That's what we're programming. Channel 1. Input, I have mine set for input E right here, because it's actually comfortable while I'm holding the transmitter, while I'm running the boat. My thumb naturally goes to that button. So I assigned E. Okay, all you do is you just basically hit OK. It'll highlight that option mode. It automatically popped up 3 position, so we're actually going to change that. If you're in 3 position mode, it's going to be a momentary thing, depending on which way you go with your toggle switch. So we don't really want that. We want more of a linear position. So let's see what our options are here. 2 position, 3 position, linear. Okay, so linear, let's check it. Yeah, that's what we want, a linear mode, so we can set it and it'll stay exactly where we set it at. Okay, for our trim. Okay, I'm getting all this set up before I install my servo, so there's no question. Okay, so step size, you can choose step size from like 1 to 20. I've got mine on the fast step size. Okay, if you go down to 1, it's going to take forever to go where you want it to go. So we're going to go up to 20. It's faster. Okay, that's the highest setting. Now when we hit it, she's moving. Okay, so channel 1 is set. Let's see what channel 2 is. Channel 2 is our reverse bucket. So we're going to save that. We're going to go to our auxiliary channels. Channel 2. Select it. Input. I think I'm going to go with input G, which is this guy right here. This is another toggle switch. This is a toggle switch. Channel G is like a momentary or just an on-off switch type deal. Okay, channel 2, input G. All right, and that's the option I have it on. If we go to active, it's gonna just, like when you hit the button, it's like a momentary deal. So we're gonna go to the other option and it'll actually act as an on-off switch. Okay, so that's set. So I have my receiver put back in the receiver box. All my wires are organized. Okay, I didn't video it because you guys wouldn't be able to see what I'm doing. So now's the fun part. This is the servo mount that I made for our trim servo. Okay, it's actually a pretty simple little mount. It literally took me all of about 5 minutes to make, literally. Okay, so the height from the bottom of my mount is 31 millimeters, 31.5, and the width is 39.8. I actually put an angle on the bottom so that it sits on the little dead rise on the bottom of the boat. It don't need much angle, just a little bit, so it basically sits straight up and down in the hull. Okay, and I actually notched the corner right here. In the bottom of the boat, they have like a screw post right here. This is where a screw goes for the body armor on the bottom of the boat. So I actually had to notch my servo mount to sit on that. So with this back corner and the angle on our servo mount, it should sit right there, right behind the reverse bucket servo, right beside the trim rod. Speaking of our trim rod, I went ahead and took the nut and bolt off that trim rod right there. So my trim linkage rod, it's basically free floating in the through hole. Okay, I've got all that disassembled. It's just one screw with a nut back in it. Okay, pretty simple. Once I got this trim rod disconnected from the nozzle, I loosened up my grub screw on the connector right here and used some needle nose pliers and unscrewed it. There's not a nut back in it. It just screws into the plastic mount. Okay, so once you get that connector off of its mount, basically put it on your servo arm. Okay, now you're going to need a nut to hold it on. And I looked through all my nuts and bolts, well, all my nuts, and I couldn't find a nut. But I did have these old easy connectors. Airplane guys use these connectors right here a lot. They come with a temporary plastic rubber like nut, or this permanent nut right here, plate. It's like a plate. You just press it on this smooth post and it locks it on. So I basically used that plate right there on the threads, and basically I was able to screw it onto my connector, and I basically used it as a nut because it was kind of an odd size thread pattern. You know what I'm saying? So at this point you should have your servo arm on with a connector, whether it's the stock connector or an upgrade connector, on the servo. Okay, so we're going to mount this up on our servo mount. I actually had to make a little groove right here for the wire, and it should just mount right up like so. I'm going to use just a couple of wood screws, those little guys right there, to screw my servo in, and we'll be able to mount it in the boat just like this. And I'm about to stop shooting this video. I've literally been working on this video for 3 or 4 hours, and the upgrade is easy. I could have been done with it, but this boat's so hard to shoot. Everything's dark. I've got to reset lights, position the boat. Oh man, I don't even know if you guys are going to be able to see what I'm talking about. So right here, well, it's going to be a shadow. So right here was where the stock connector was for the trim rod. Okay, looks like we're going to have to cut it off because our new servo, it's going to be sitting right there. All right, and I think my connector is going to basically hit where the old mount was. I really hate to cut this off because if something happens and this just don't work out, then I'm going to have to build a new trim mount. So I'm going to use this little cutoff saw here and cut this off as close as I can to the servo mount. I really don't want to cut it. You might be able to get away without cutting it, but I'm going to cut mine. I'm going to cut it off as clean as I can. Again, you guys probably aren't going to be able to see what I'm freaking doing here, but I flipped my servo arm over so I could put my grub screw in my linkage. Okay, I put a little bit of blue Loctite on it, and we'll flip it back over. That's going to be pretty much done. Now I can basically mount up my servo. I think I'm going to JB plastic bond my servo into the boat once I find the prime position. Okay, so I got the bottom of my boat sanded and prepped up. I drilled a few holes in the bottom of this mount so my epoxy basically locks it in place. Okay, I'm gonna mount it like this, not like this, right there. Okay, gonna have to do some figuring when you mount it up and give it full cure time so it don't bust loose. DUN done. Alright, I got the servo mounted up. It almost looks stock in there. It really does. I used that JB plastic bonder to bond it in. I did one application to make sure I put it in the right place, and then I did a second application to kind of reinforce it. You know, the JB plastic bonder comes in two different colors. This like beige, and that comes in like a dark gray. I wish I would have picked the dark gray, but I actually thought I did, but I got the beige. It don't look bad. It don't look bad. I like it. It turned out good. So I got my steering rod hooked up onto our connector. We talked about that earlier. All I got to do now is just put a screw in there. I just wanted to make sure I had everything right. All I got to do is put a screw in it. Originally, I thought I was going to need to move this bellow, the through-hole bellow there, but it actually works out pretty good. So I'm going to go up and down so you guys can see the servo movement, and then we'll go up and down on the back of the boat so you guys can see how much nozzle movement we have. I ended up taking about 2 millimeters off the end of my rod so it doesn't like bottom out on my servo mounts right there, but it actually has a nice linear movement. Okay, and I actually changed to F. I was going to use E, but F's actually a little bit more convenient for me right there, you know, so I just assigned my auxiliary 1 to F instead of E. Same procedure. Okay, so I actually took my reverse nozzle off. I think I'm going to leave it off. It actually works really good with the nozzle on. The reason I took it off is in its highest position. Ooh, doggy, look at that, huh? Look at there. Come on, come on. So in its highest position there, the reverse nozzle would actually inhibit my rooster tail. It would like block some of my rooster tail. So I'm going to leave it off. And I know a lot of you guys are going to say, oh, the boat's not going to have reverse with the reverse bucket. But it does. It actually does. Reverse, it reverses. It's not as controlled with the reverse nozzle, but it does have reverse. And I didn't use it not one time in my bass session. If you're on a river, no, that's a different story. You're going to need your reverse bucket. But I'm not going to use it. So I decided not to use it on my boat. I'll throw it back on there for you real quick and show you what it looks like on the boat and what I'm talking about. Just kind of, I'm just going to clip in an old clip. I'm not going to put it back on right now. But just kind of look right here when it's in its fullest up position. It actually kind of, like this bottom part of the bucket right here blocks the thrust when I have it trimmed up. This is what it looks like with the reverse bucket on it. All the way down. It really don't inhibit anything or hinder the height I can get. But you see how the reverse bucket in its highest position, it may block the top of the rooster tail, blocking some of my thrust. So I'm choosing not to run the reverse bucket. You know what I'm saying? So like I said, it's up to you. It's your boat. I'm gonna run my boat how I want to run mine. You run yours how you want to run yours. But as you can see, it's not really blocking it. It's not hindering it. Just may slow the boat down. And it would work fine with the reverse bucket, but I'm after the trim. So I have it like my neutral setting on my transmitter is basically neutral on the nozzle. When I go up or down, okay, and then it goes back to its neutral. position, it's neutral, and then I go positive, it's positive. You know what I'm saying? So I actually set my travel on auxiliary channel 1 to about 50 on both up and down, so I don't overwork my servo. It even sounds like it's overworking now. You hear it? You hear that buzzing? Okay, and then whenever I relieve the pressure, the buzzing goes off. So I probably need to back my travel down a little bit on auxiliary 1. So it turned out pretty good. Like I said, I'll put the reverse bucket on if I run in a river. Other than that, I'm gonna leave it off. Up to you. In an upcoming video, we're gonna upgrade the servo. We're gonna upgrade the ESC. We're gonna upgrade the cooling line and run 6S in the boat. GPS test the boat before 6S, and then, you know, before the ESC upgrade, then after. Check out this big ass 67mm ABC, vintage ABC prop I got. 1667 vintage ABC prop. A buddy of mine has a 48 gas Proboat, and we're gonna run it. We're gonna run it on his 48 gas and see what it'll do this weekend. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching. Hopefully you learned something. I can't wait to go test it out. We'll see you guys next time. Big B with Ironclad RC.